Hey, so we're sitting here with a couple of guys from the ocean, and we are in San Francisco right before the Summer Slaughter Tour. How's it going today?
Good. Pretty good, yeah. Pretty chilled. Had a day off yesterday. Checked out the city, and first day of tour is always mayhem. So it's been pretty crazy so far, but I think we should be set. Yeah.
And so you guys have been staying with basically fans from Facebook, right?
Well, the tour just starts today, so we haven't really. Yeah, the last couple of nights we just stayed with friends basically, but we're going to be staying with people, fans, friends for the whole tour basically, because we're just doing this in a van, and apparently in America you don't get hotels provided by the promoters, which is common in Europe, and it's something we learned along the way of our past 3 tours. First, we didn't really know how to do it. That's why we ended up with RVs and all these crappy scenarios that broke down halfway through the tour. But now we kind of learned that it's really easy to stay with people, and that's why we bought our own van, and we're always just like, staying with people we've already stayed with on previous tours or posting on Facebook the night of the show. And so far it's always been working out pretty smooth. It's one of the very cool things about the US. People are very, hospitality is like enormous here.
So you guys don't do that at all in Europe because they obviously provide the hotels?
Yeah. Generally in Europe, bands are being treated a lot better than in the US. Catering wise and accommodation wise, you always get hotels, you always get
drinks.
Lots of drinks and rider items and buffet style dinner and all this kind of stuff. Even for bands that are not drawing 2 million people,
Right.
it's really even for smaller shows with an attendance of maybe 150 to 200 people, you get all that stuff in Europe. So that's why American bands that come to Europe always love it there, and they're like, this is fucking amazing. For us, it's kind of second nature, and it's a bit more rough here. But you got to play by the rules and just learn how it is and figure out your ways how to do it.
And so you guys came out with a new album, Pelagial, recently, and you're going to be playing that in its entirety at the tour?
No.
No? Don't have enough time?
No, we can't because we have a 25-minute set, so at one point we need to make some choice. And
so what are you guys going to be playing on the tour?
We're going to especially play Pelagial record, but not the entire record. We're going to add some older songs.
Yeah, we can't. The album was 53 minutes. We got a 25-minute set, which actually we were supposed to have 30 minutes, but now it's 25 because they added another band, which we're not very happy about. But yeah, at the max we'll get 30 minutes. So we'll mainly play Pelagial material and maybe one older track every night.
Can you go ahead and talk a little bit about the album and kind of the concept behind it?
Yeah, sure. Pelagial is a musical journey from the surface to the bottom of the sea, basically. It was written as one piece of music. And when I started writing it, I basically really wanted people to get the point of that album without knowing much about it. You don't have to know much about the pelagial depth zones or how many meters it is, for every zone. I wanted people to feel from listening to the record to get an idea of what the record is doing, which is traveling from the surface to the bottom of the sea. And when you think of that, what do you think of? You think of increasing pressure, decreasing light. It's all just getting black and dark, and surrounding life forms are getting more and more scarce as you progress towards the depths of the deep sea. And that's what we try to do musically. So the music is getting slower towards the end of the record. It's getting deeper in tuning. It's getting progressively more intense and at the same time more spaced out and ambient. And then there's a lot of underwater samples and stuff like that kind of hint you in the right direction. So I think people can easily get what this album is all about.
And then you have a record label, Pelagic Records, also.
Yep.
How is it in terms of, you have the artist side while you're in the ocean, and then you're the manager and you do kind of the press for Pelagic artists. Kind of, how is that transition, and how do you feel, everything's working out in terms of the way music is going these days?
Pelagic Records was started because of the ocean originally. I wanted to re-release our 2004 album Fluxion, which has been out of print. Metal Blade didn't want to do it. I guess it was a bad time and for the music industry and everything, so they were like, why don't you do it yourself? And they hooked me up with some contacts, and that's how the label was started originally. And then I realized that this is great fun and that there's a whole lot of bands that I knew that I really wanted to help out release-wise. And so that's why the label has kind of like turned into a more serious thing over the following couple of months. It was started in the beginning of 2009 actually. And now it's pretty much like a full-time enterprise. Like, I mean, I do the label and the band, and that's all I do. It takes up a lot of time, but fortunately, being a touring musician, I can still work while I'm on tour. I need my laptop, so I can work pretty much from anywhere. So I don't need to go to an office every morning. Obviously, there's people at home taking care of logistics and stuff, helping out with packing parcels and all this kind of stuff. But it works pretty well, and the label has benefited a lot from the band, and I think vice versa too. It's very much more cost efficient to release your own records than to go with a record label that will pay you, 15% royalties or whatever. But we're still with Metal Blade releasing our CDs and digital form, like everything in digital format basically, and Pelagic is only doing the vinyls. And with that split, we have the perfect setup because we draw upon Metal Blade's reach in terms of promotion and like budgets and stuff like that. But at the same time, we release our own records on vinyl and really tie fans to us with like special packagings and stuff like that, and that's been working out pretty well so far.
So obviously, working on your own label, you have to be well versed in what's going on in terms of the music community. What are some of your top 5 new bands that that you're really digging on right now?
You mean bands on my label, or
just in general?
To be honest, I have not really been listening to so much music lately because we were very busy with finishing this album, and when you're spending 8 or 10 hours in the studio, you don't want to go home and listen to more music. So I haven't really been following so much what was happening. One record I really got into lately is the new Bosnian Rainbows album, which I think is phenomenal. The last Cult of Luna record, definitely. Toured with those guys in April in Europe, and they're like probably my favorite band in heavy music these days. They're just amazing.
So
and,
tasty.
Yeah, everything is just like, and they reproduce it live exactly the way they sound on record. It's really incredible. And then I really dig this band Baptists from Vancouver. They're fucking amazing, I think. Remind me a bit of the old His Heroes Gone kind of school of D-beat hardcore, but done the right way. It's really good.
So who would you say has a better metal scene, Europe or the States?
States. I mean, in the States it's much more bigger, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, hard to answer.
I mean, Europe is not like a homogeneous place, It's like so many different countries, and every country is different. Generally, everything in the US is bigger. I think there is more support for experimental heavy music here as compared
like
to Europe.
All the metalcore scene and deathcore scene.
Yeah, that's
bigger here, I think, than in Europe, for example.
Yeah, but also like more progressive metal stuff. Bands like Mastodon draw like twice as many people here than in Europe, I think, in most countries. And Europe has been following what's happening in the US with a bit of like a 6-month delay over the last couple of years, it seems. Their trends still emerge in the US, it seems, which is a bit of a shame. But on the other hand, some of the more remote countries in Europe, like some of the more Eastern European countries, the scene is younger and more fresh still, and people are not as spoiled as in the US or as in like Western Europe, which is great because then it just feels like people are a lot more into the music for the sake of the music and not for the sake of showing off their t-shirts and buttons. People really inform themselves about the bands they're going to see, and they get really excited. And a lot of times when we play it's pretty much the same whether we play Germany or the US. You always have these scene kids just like standing there and watching, and then you play Russia and people go apeshit, and it's like a totally different world, for example. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like the scene is strong everywhere, and I guess Europe is kind of like copying a lot of the stuff that's happening in the US.
Yeah, I think the business is more bigger than the US.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time to sit down with us.
Thanks, man.
Talk a little bit about the album and what's going on with you guys, and definitely have a good show.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.